Salutations cyberspace and welcome to the JCal Arts channel, and if you're new here, consider joining the JCal Arts universe. On this channel I do Let's Draws, which are the art equivalent of Let's Plays, where I have a time lapse of a drawing I did and discuss anything related to the drawing and the drawing itself. And if that interests you, click that red button down below and help expand this universe that I have building up here. We are officially on part 2 of my Let's Draw Warriors Cats video series, where I take 3 of my personal favorite cats from each of the cat clans and give them the RPG furry treatment. So we are now going to be drawing 3 of my personal favorite cats from one of the side character clans, as I like to call them, which is RiverClan. So let's get to it. The first RiverClan cat I'll be drawing today is Hawkfrost. Hawkfrost is the half-brother of Brambleclaw and the son of Tigerstar, who's the antagonist of the first arc. And I like Hawkfrost because he plays a good foil, in my opinion, to Brambleclaw in many ways. Hawkfrost is part of RiverClan, and RiverClan sided with Tigerstar and ShadowClan at first in the first arc, while Brambleclaw, his half-brother, was growing up in ThunderClan, and ThunderClan teamed up with WindClan against Tigerstar and ShadowClan. You know, they're both half-brothers who end up making contact with Tigerstar's spirit in the second arc, and they both end up training under Tigerstar's guidance, spiritual guidance, I guess. And Brambleclaw ended up going against his father ultimately at the end, and Hawkfrost decided to chase after his father's approval and go with his evil deeds, and ultimately getting himself sent to cat hell alongside his dad. And so I see the different ways they contrast with each other, and that's why I like him so much. And if you watch the first video of this Let's Draw video series, you already know Brambleclaw is one of my favorite Warriors Cats characters of all time, so Hawkfrost clearly has some privilege here in endearing himself to me. And so that's why I'm drawing him today, and I am trying to do what I can to make him distinct but look similar to his half-brother, Brambleclaw. Like in the last Let's Draw video, I'm basing the costume design for my Anthro Warrior Cats characters on African tribes, and so for the RiverClan cats, I'm going to be basing their costumes off of the Samburu tribe in Kenya. The Samburu people live near the Great Lakes region of Kenya, and so that's befitting for RiverClan cats who also live near a body of water all the time in their stories. And so I have Hawkfrost here wearing a light blue cloth wrapped around his waist that is tied with a pendant. And then he's also wearing a headband in a different shade of blue with the RiverClan logo. And then I have him wearing dark blue armbands. And he's in an aggressive stance because Hawkfrost is a go-getter and trying to follow his father's advice and doing what he says and being a strong fighter. And so I wanted to give that aspect of his personality some shine here. And he's wielding a throwing spear of sorts that can, in my mind, double as a harpoon to catch fish with, because I really want to double down on the, I guess, differences between the clans in my drawings of them. And I also tried to give him big dark hair like I did Brambleclaw in the last Let's Draw. And I also took some liberties, I guess, with his fur coat coloring, because I've seen his fur coat being colored dark brown with dark stripes like I have it here in this recording, but I also seen his fur also be in lighter shades of brown. So I know Warrior Cat's fur is up to the artist's interpretation, and books describe it as well, but everyone has their own take, I guess. The next RiverClan cat in the lineup of today's Let's Draw is Feathertail. And I know I'll inevitably have non-Warrior Cats fans watching my Let's Draw videos, particularly this one, so I'll explain to you my feelings about Feathertail by making an analogy to another fictional character. Feathertail for me was what Aerith was for gamers playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time. Both are very wholesome, sweet characters who go through a lot in their journeys, and both end up losing their lives tragically and making a very emotional impact through their death, especially because it's surprising or unexpected. And so that was what Feathertail was for me. She ended up sacrificing her life, killing one of the antagonists of the second arc named Sharktooth, who was part of a separate group of cats entirely from the 4 cat clans. And she also, in the first arc, was imprisoned by Tiger Star because she's a half-clan cat, her father being a Thunder Clan warrior, her mother being a River Clan warrior, which I find to be very hypocritical on Tiger Star's part because he hooked up with a rogue cat who wasn't a part of the four clans at all. So by that logic, his own children, particularly Hawkfrost, would be half-breeds. But whatever, Tiger Star, you're a villain. Of course, you're not going to be making sense. But Feathertail at least is reunited with her mommy in cat heaven, so she ultimately ended up having the happy ending. But let me not get mushy, and I'm going to talk about her costume design. If Feathertail were an RPG character, I see her playing a support role in battle and not a combat role. So I have decided to draw her as a dancer. And when it comes to RiverClan warriors, I see them being distance demons, like they have a lot of throwing weapons, they have a lot of archers, and I also see them having a lot of dancers too, but that's just me. But Feathertail here is a dancer. I've drawn her with a blue cloth wrapped around her waist, just like Hawkfrost, in keeping with RiverClan dress code. They wear a lot of blue, but hers is a lot longer and in dress form. And she also has a blue crop top and a beaded collar that looks very similar to what the Samburu women wear, where they have a lot of beads wrapped around their neck and collarbone area. And she also wears a headband like Hawkfrost that has gold lining that is wrapped around the front to really make her look more elegant and classy. And she's also very small and thin to hyper fixate on her being frail and soft. And she's holding feathers because not only is her name Feathertail, but she uses those feathers to help aid in her dance. And I just wanted to make sure she just looks like a character who's not meant to be on the front lines. She's more in the back supporting the main team. And she's going to need to dance her feelings out considering all the crap she's been through in the story. But I want to do Warrior Cat's cinnamon roll justice. The last RiverClan cat I'll be drawing in today's Let's Draw is Stormfur. Of course, I'm going to be drawing Feathertail's sibling, and I hope my second arc bias is coming in full swing as all three RiverClan cats are active in the second arc as main characters. So Stormfur, being Feathertail's sibling, has the shared trauma of being imprisoned by Tiger Star for being half clan, and so I'm pretty sure that's probably why he's over the clan system as a whole, as one of the main warrior code rules is that you're not to take a mate and have kids, especially with a cat from a different clan, and that's a union he's created from, so it's basically a rejection of his existence in a sense, and I'm pretty sure that's why he had no issues joining the mountain tribe of cats that the main characters meet in the second arc, especially after his sister died. I'm pretty sure there wasn't really much keeping him there in the four cat clans, and he basically is hard to trust when it comes to other people, especially because, as with most of the clans, I'm gonna assume that RiverClan isn't too fond of him being half clan, especially because his father ends up joining him in RiverClan for a moment. And so yeah, he's a pretty angsty guy who's very protective of his sister at the very least. And I know I made the comparison of Feathertail to Aerith, and it's starting to sound like Stormfur on a superficial level has some similarities to Cloud Strife, but that's just my opinion. I'm going to make Stormfur an archer because I think his hypervigilance would be a useful trait for an archer to have, and I think it will be thematically poignant for a character who's very distant with people to be a distance demon as an archer, so I decided to draw him as one in this Let's Draw, along with it fitting in the theme for RiverClan warriors, where I see them having weapons that they also use for fishing equipment. Even though fishing with bow and arrow would be impractical, it has been done throughout human history, and we're talking about RPG fantasy, so realism isn't always the number one goal here. But I have Stormfur wearing a blue cloth around his waist like Hawkfrost, and he's wearing the same dark blue beaded collar as his sister, and I also have him wearing two light blue straps across his chest, and he has like a puffy mohawk updo hairstyle. And I am so happy he has solid dark gray fur as a fur coat, so I won't have to sit here and find all sorts of different reference photos and do my own interpretation of the fur coat of a character, because I had to do that for Feathertail and Hawkfrost, and I still feel like I got something wrong with those two. But I am done for today. Thank you for watching if you made it this far, and in the next video of this Warrior Cats Let's Draw series, we're going to be taking 3 cats from Wind Clan that I like, so be prepared for that. Thank you.